I heard you saying 3 and 6. And I just want to figure out what the 9 is. I noticed you've got these 8 colors around the self.
Yeah.
8 dots. So the 8 dots would be incorporated into the 9th entity, which is the self.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So there we've got the 9. So how's that for a head trip? I see 369 being expressed here. Can I share it with you?
Go ahead.
So Aho, right, is pure information. It's like the database, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And in a way, I can't read that word because it's
Yeah,
I can't see the actual pink writing. It's very difficult to see on my screen. Maybe if
it's faint. I apologize for that.
No, that's volume.
Yeah. Change. They keep moving.
Yeah, that's Zethizathu.
Zethizathu. Now, Zethizathu, to me, wow, when I do that, it's really bright on my eyes. When I see that to me seems like it's almost similar. It's a database, but it's not a database of physicality. It's a database of mentality. Would that be a good way of looking at it?
It's more abstract. It's more like, images and sensations and feelings without any kind of like symbol. There's not a sense of language like attached to it in the same way like so you think about it, Ajo is language without images, and then Zethizathu would be images without language. Like, oh, that's kind of interesting. We're actually learning more stuff about this system by sort of exploring and teasing it out. So please continue.
So like those two are like a polarity of each other in a way, like physical and non-physical. But it's the same thing, but it's on a different level of being.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make sense? Like internal, out, external. Then I'm seeing that there are 3 stages of activity. You got the purple set of activity, which is like, dare I say the word concept? Or no, more idea. It's more an idea. Concept is more the indigo, isn't it? It's becoming more formed.
Yeah.
And then that becomes more structured in the blue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the idea is that form. Think of it like this, like when it's like it's kind of the same way you have like the red is sort of like a big wavelength, and the wavelength gets smaller as it goes up in color. Think of it like that, but also going in this direction. Well, so Ajo is kind of like big, stretched out, like red levels of awareness. Then each one, when you go up, so then orange, it's like you got sort of like medium-sized bubbles. So think of it like this. It's like you got one big red bubble of awareness, and then that splits into 4 orange ones, and then each one of the 4 orange ones splits into 4 yellow, and then each of those yellow splits into 4 green. And the same thing, you start at like 1, 4, 16, 64. And if you think of it like, so the idea is it starts from here, the awareness is more collectivized, and with each successive level, that awareness becomes more individualistic, more distinct. So Sheyu is more distinct from Ajo. Likewise, in the same way, Zethuzatho is more distinctive and less collectivistic than Zethizathu, and Bavitha is less collectivistic of Zethuzatho. So that when you get to the center, think of this as like a valley where it's like Ajo and Zethizathu are like the peaks of the side of the valley, and the self is sort of the river at the bottom where everything kind of funnels into.
That's a beautiful symbol. And so what I'm seeing here is that like the red and the pink are just the thing, what it is. But all of the activity to become is between orange, yellow, and green. Orange is the structuring of that in terms of becoming energetic polarities. And then the structuring of that energetic polarities to form nodes for crystallization is one more advanced action than orange's action. If you want to use advanced in towards like advancing towards material. And then the green is advancing those crystalline forms to create atoms, take those atoms and form molecules, right?
Mhm.
And so the act of forming molecules, or the act of forming crystals, or the act of forming polarities of energy, represented by orange, yellow, and green. Red just is. It's like red is where all of that comes out of. And red is sort of the palette, no? and the palette is used for those three activities. And then I look on the other side and I see the pink is like the inner palette. And then the violet takes that polarities of mind potential, that there can be differentiation of thought. And then that differentiation of thought goes to the next stage where it crystallizes as like concepts, right?
Mhm.
And those concepts then in the blue stage becomes like proper thought objects.
Yeah.
astral plane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you've got three principles, and I'm seeing those two as a hexagram. 3 points on a hexagram, 3 points on a hexagram, and the pink and the red are the one triangle and the one triangle. Does that make sense? So there's like a red triangle and there's a pink triangle, and they're pointing in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pink triangle has one side that does one thing, which you could say is orange, and another side that does something else that's yellow, and another side that does molecular life, but it's all coming from that red base triangle within that sphere of triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And the other, so I'm seeing a hexagram here forming, which is 6, but I'm also seeing that the orange obviously being related to the purple in the way that yellow is related to indigo, in the way that green's related to blue. These are like fingers like this. So I see those as being like dimensional octaves of each other. So I'm seeing these three fundamental principles, one set of the principles on the physical, one set of the principles on the internal, spiritual, if you will use that word.
Right.
But it's as above, so below. The same concept. So I'm seeing that the three principles there and the three principles there are the same principles. They're just applied in a different sphere of being, if that makes sense, of differentiation. Right. And so I'm seeing the number 3 talking to me. Then I'm seeing the 6 of the hexagram, and I'm seeing that coming together in completion around the self, which is all 8 of these elements bound around this the 9th element, which is the self. So to me, I'm seeing 369 here, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I hope, like, it's an interesting way of looking at it.
I guess I never really kind of used the self as kind of like being sort of like the 9th polarity, but I guess when you make it into like a 9, you can kind of structure this thing in a kind of a triangular sort of whatever that triangle fractal sort of fashion is.
And it's even the symbol of it is a triangle within a triangle.
Yeah, it represents sort of the 2 polarities. So it's like one triangle is like one side and one triangle is the other side. Because I think the way I've been thinking about consciousness lately, it's like when you split everything into Zerfaxes, there's a clear distinction that like I have the Zerfax that I exist in, which is my physical Zerfax, the world of the 5 senses, this sort of this bubble, this sphere. Because you kind of like you look at the sky and you look at sort of like as being like the edge of the membrane of a sphere. But my imagination, my third eye, is like a completely different sphere of its own, right? So there's the sphere of what I see in front of with my eyes, but there's also the Zerfax sphere I see in my mind's eye. So whatever I'm imagining, whatever visual images I'm thinking about, whatever, songs are in my head. So it's like you see existence as being in 2 bubbles at once, right? And so that's kind of what the 2 triangles represent. So it's like there's one plane of existence, and another plane of existence sort of existing within it. So that seems to be what this the symbol, the I Zerfax, spelled AIE, represents here. Is the sort of, and then each of the nodes of consciousness are represented by the points on the triangle. So there's there's Kuth, which is that's the fifth dimension. I mean, the five sense sort of self. Then there's the masculine Zith, which is the Zerfax where you see your mental images and your mind's eye. And then there's the gate node, which is the third one, which relates to the sort of the emotional coloring of one's existence. So, whether you feel happy or sad or what your internal vibe feels like for that day is like a Zerfax of itself as well. And the idea is the I Zerfax is kind of the reality where all three of these Zerfaxal experiences intersect as sort of one singular experience for the individual. So that's kind of what this symbol represents in that realm. And these levels of awareness the idea is that they're kind of necessary sort of pillars or steps in order to create the full thing. So you can't have, so think of it like these are built upon layers. Cathadio is built on top of Klinizo. Klinizo is on top of Sheyu. And these are sort of the layers of consciousness within it that lead up to this. So Klinizo, Cathadio has the three colors existing before in it, but Klinizo only has Sheyu and Ajo within it. And then when it gets to a new level, it then morphs into this. So it's like you have Ajo, then you have Ajo, and then Sheyu with Ajo beneath it. Then you have Klinizo with Sheyu and Ajo beneath that. And so by having all 8 of these frequencies, you have the complete sort of sense of self. And one of the things I figured out with this chart is I wanted to track, where does artificial intelligence manifest itself? So I thought about, so if you think about artificial intelligence, first you have the information level, which is just Ajo, the programming. Then you have the fact that it's like, there's electricity, there's moving parts, it's animated. There's the Sheyu dimension of consciousness. Then because you recognize that AI is based on, circuits, crystalline, quartz and silicon computer chips, then you get to the Klinizo level. But because it's not organic, it lacks the Cathadio dimension. So the AI, it doesn't have this green level of awareness. So because of that, it never truly gets an actual individual self. So it doesn't complete this process of individuation, which I find is kind of interesting. And the thing is with Klinizo, it's like no matter how much you complexify the Klinizo, it can never reach the level of Cathadio unless you introduce Bavitha or Slithio. So in order for Klinizo to get to Cathadio, it has to get a reflection from one of these frequencies over here, which is what the AI is not necessarily completing that process. And because it doesn't complete that process, that's why it doesn't have feeling. That's why it doesn't have a sense of emotional center, because it's just pure kind of intellectual crystalline intelligence. It doesn't have that organic Cathadio level of awareness. And that's why it doesn't lend itself to being a self. So I find that with this chart, you can actually figure out how much of an awareness level an object or phenomenon has based on where it fits within this particular progression.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. There we go. So we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, Shinobi. Toby Shinobi. How are you doing there, brother? Shinobi has come to join us. He's also got a what name are you going at the moment? Because you've got a YouTube channel. It gets confusing. Which YouTube channel are you using?
Systematic Zoo, but I'm going to create another one called General Shinobi. Systematic Zoo for now. I just thought it might be easier.
Why did you just change the name of Systematic Zoo to General Shinobi?
Well, the thing is, I wanted to start a podcast called Systematic Zoo, but when I go on podcasts, I don't want to be Systematic Zoo. I want to be General Shinobi. So, yeah, I may well just change the name to General Shinobi.
And then have a show called Systematic Zoo in General Shinobi's channel.
I'll have another YouTube called Systematic Zoo because I have a book and a ton of research I want to share. So I'm just a ball of chaos, really. So
yeah,
I'm sure I'll work it out. But if you want to check out my YouTube, it's Systematic Zoo for now.
It's in the recommended list of channels. Namaste, welcome, dear brother. He's a researcher. He's writing a cool book. It sounds really exciting. I don't want to spill the beans, but what he's told me about it sounds like a classic sci-fi, satirical look at reality that's quite telling. And he's a great researcher, wonderful brother, father. How was your outing with the kids today, brother?
Yeah, it was good. We've just been at skate parks all day today. Went to outdoor skate park in the morning, and then we went to a Halloween party at an indoor skate park where they were dressed up as scarecrows. Everyone was, yeah, there was
skateboarding.
Yeah, lots of scarecrows skateboarding. But yeah, man, it was good. We were going to go
scared boarding.
Yeah, well, they were scootering as well. They do a bit of both. Bodhi, who's 4, he was 4 in July. He was dropping down some big ramps today. They're all really impressed. Like straight away, he was like down this big one. Never tried it before. The other guys are like, it took us a year to do that. And they're like 10, 12. Yeah, so they had a great time.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Well, welcome, dear brother. And we were breaking down some of the knowledge from Cosmic's system, which is really, really interesting. Seeing so many different ways of his system sort of correlating in different ways. Everything seems to have this 369 in it. It's inescapable. Well, welcome to the conversation. It's an honor to have you here. Big love, big blessings. And how you guys doing in the chat, man? You guys are bringing some interesting concepts there. Quantum portal is portaling out some quantum information. And Chaos, you were telling us that you're a midget. Is that correct? Did I hear you right? You were like, I'm half a midget. I'm half what a midget would be. Were you like 6'8" or 6'8" or something? Is that correct? 6'10". Bloody hell.
Wow.
That's like some severe midgetry going on there, man. 6'10". So basically you bump your head when you walk into a house, right? That's like some severe a 6'10" midget. Like you gotta like duck your head. Dude, if you tried walking in my home, you'd probably bump your head. Well, big love, man. Shiva demolition expect dynamite. Yeah, man, dynamite. Yeah, so if you mind with the 369 and the 963 and how the 3 and the 9 becomes 6 and the 6 and the 9 and the 3396639. I wish we could do like a little cheerleader dance, but it's tricky.
Yeah, the 369 has really helped me come up with a few different frameworks of basically kind of structuring a lot of different sort of thought patterns. So I first heard it like Tesla famously said, if you want to understand the universe, think in 369. And I'd just been looking into the Enneagram, and I noticed in the center, the middle triangle was 3, 6, and 9. So I haven't really looked at much of the other parts of the Enneagram, but the 3, 6, and 9 really stood out because obviously a pyramid, which it makes, the triangle, means fire in the middle. So I was like, right, okay, the 369 is the pyramid. That's fire in the middle. And then I saw the dollar bill, and I was like, that's a pyramid. That's like the 369. You've got the I at the top. Obviously, the 9th letter is an I, which is interesting because it kind of relates to, I guess, 9 on the enneagram is Mars. So there it had me thinking of Marduk, because I think there's a story of him being related to the pyramid. I think I've heard he was trapped in the pyramid or something. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But the eye is really interesting because, well, I'll first start off saying 3-eye atlas, because that's a big topic at the moment. 3-eye atlas is a 3, 6, and 9, because you obviously have the 3, the eye is a 9, and then Atlas famously held up the Earth, which is related to the number 6 or the cube. So with 3-eye atlas, you have the 3, 6, and 9 right there. And also it sounds a lot like 3rd eye at last, 3-eye atlas, 3rd eye at last. And it's just turned blue, I think, a day or two ago. So it was red and then or green, and now it's turned blue. So you have like a link with Project Bluebeam as well, which could be a double or triple bluff to try and make us think that this is orchestrated. Who knows? But what's interesting is that the Hopi had a prophecy about a blue star bringing in a new age. So obviously you have new age of Horus, this new epoch, the age of Aquarius, which is an air sign and the water bearer. Like air contains water and water contains air. So I think that this number 9 in the 3rd eye is very important right now. And I'll just share a little graph I've done. I couldn't find another one I did a while ago, so I'll just share this one. This is one I made earlier. Oh, it's back to front. Of course it is. Right. Okay. I don't know how to flip that, so I'm not going to be able to show you that right now. That's annoying. I'll try and describe it as best I can. So on the left side...
Why can't I... Did you share it yet?
Well, I was trying to use my camera, but it's reversed. I don't know how to flip my camera.
Oh, just hit the little wheel at the bottom.
Yep.
There's a little wheel. Hit that wheel. Go to camera.
Yep.
Scroll down and mirror my camera.
Yeah, that's on.
Then unmirror my camera.
Unmirror. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, great. Okay. So I do have better diagrams than this, but I just had to draw this one up really quickly. So this has really helped me kind of understand stuff. By what I do is I divide it into the left and to the right, to the yin, to the yang, and kind of, I guess, dissolve things and separate and then put them back together, the coagulation. So the 3 is this C, which is to see, and the 3 is related to the Pata, which is red, which is the furthest light spectrum we can see. So it's further, it's the farther. So Pitta Pata, we see patterns. And then the number 6 is an F, which is the frequency, which is the Mutta Matta. So on one side we have the father, the other side is the mother. Pitta Pata, Mutta Matta. One's the father, the other mother. And then the number 9 obviously is an I. And then this looks like the dollar bill as well, where there's 13 steps, which probably relates to memory. Obviously, I know there's 13 families supposedly as well, but I think that to get up here, we need to have memory. We need to, have the current C, which is our gold and water energy. So the number 9 is related to Pluto. 9 in German means no. So you go 9. So that's no. So that is no at the top, which is gnosis. So a balance of the 6 and the 3 is no, which is to know. And gnosis is to know cis, which is the feminine waters, which is our subconscious. So we have to be connected to the I guess if it's the brother and sister, the brother is consciousness and then the sister is subconscious water. Gnosis is to know this part of the self, that is to know thyself. So also in the center, real quick, in the center we have, so this equals an 18, right? 9, 6 and 3 is
I got gnosis.
18, which is 1.
Lol. I got
9.
gnosis from
Yeah.
knowing my fairy sisters.
That's the caduceus.
Gnosis is knowing your sister.
No, no, like not figuratively. So yeah, also the code users as well sounds a lot like code users. Who was that saying about knowing your sister?
That was me.
Yeah, well, obviously, like I divide everything. That's what's helped me have. I call it side keys to our psyche. Like there's many keys you get, and the key is knowledge, one side, the masculine, and the intuition is the other side. The knowledge is the fire, is the light, which is the masculine, and then the intuition is the water, the feminine. And then the knowledge is from outside of ourselves, and the intuition is from inside of ourselves. The knowledge is the fire that comes down, pitter patter, like patterns that we recognize. And then the matter is the frequency that we feel, which is the water, which, yeah, could be water sounds like daughter, feminine, sister, feminine, no sis, sounds like no sister. Yeah, so
it's interesting that gnosis story because a triangle is masculine. No sis,
yes,
no
fire.
sister. It's totally masculine.
Right.
So it is no sister. You know? And then the circle, right, would be like the sirs being killed. Right? Circle. Like there's no masculine there. It's pure feminine. So it's quite an interesting how we stumble into divine truths through words. They have a beautiful way of doing that. Please continue, brother.
That's a rubbish drawing, but that is this. The fire and the water connecting is the caduceus. And obviously there's a center point there, which is the fire would be the car, which is the air and the fire, the vital life force of the spirit. And then the blue would be the water, the downwards triangle, which is the bar, which is more of that which travels on the water, like when we're dreaming, which is our identity, which is inwards. The blue is inwards, the red is outwards, and they need to both be in balance. These two have to be in balance to have gnosis. You need the knowledge and the intuition. And with the caduceus, it's the same as well. You have 2, but they both make an 8 sort of, and then you have the center, which is the 1, which would be the sun as well, which would be the mother, the father, and the son in the center. And the center is us right in the middle. So yeah, you can have lots of fun with this stuff, just playing around with the words and things, but it's really helped me understand stuff is just using just the 3, 6 and 9 and looking at the dollar bill. And then you have AI as well, which is the dollar bill. And then you have the I, which being the new age of Horus, and then the 9 relating to Mars as well. And Mars being strongly connected to AI and this money magic.
Is it just me, or are you, Indy and Cosmic? Are you also noticing that he cuts out at times, or is it my internet, or is it StreamYard, or can you guys?
I think it might be your internet, frankly, because I noticed your face is kind of like glitching a little bit.
Okay, I thought so. I was just wanted to make sure. Please carry on, brother.
So yeah, I've been making a lot of notes the last couple of days, and I don't think I'm going to be able to. I was hoping to get a little presentation together today, but been really busy, so I haven't been able to do that. So hopefully I'll be able to do that sometime soon. But I've been getting a lot of information recently which relates this AI and the dollar bill, and then this third eye to Mars and Marduk, and our money and currency and our gold being related to water, which we've spoken about before. But with money,
I need to get back because I have to hold on. Sorry, I forgot I had my mic unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm hoping to record something soon with images and stuff to kind of explain this for people, how using the 369, the pyramid, money and stuff, how it's relating to Mars and Elon Musk, who's pushing this artificial intelligence, that he actually wants to pull Marduk into this realm, which is the artificial intelligence. I think Marduk is obviously is that when you say amen, is that relating to Marduk? Amen, amen. And it's like worship me above all others.
Yeah, Amun was the god of air, and Amun Ra was the god of air combined with the god of creation. But Marduk was the god of the air, storms, and judgment. So combined, they kind of like integrate to create Yahweh, which was a later name, I believe. But they're all very similar, and they're all combined with the air, which it is said biblically that the god of the air is Lucifer. But I think they've demonized. He's basically like projected himself onto a scapegoat, and he is the god of the air. So
yeah, I've heard that Lucifer.
It takes from our understanding of creation coming from the earth, and it shows like creation from the air, like kind of like puts us out to a place where it's beyond our reach. Trying to go back to a place in the heavens to return to our home, whereas that was long ago when we left that home, and our home now is in the earth. In the matriarchal times, there was that the soul and the spirit would go into the earth and then reemerge, just as the sun goes under the earth and reemerges. But the patriarchal view is more that the spirit or soul goes out and then returns back in. It's all very like much related to the process of the sexual organs. So like when the matriarchal view was being held, it was about going in and through, and the masculine view is shooting up and out. So there's that aspect has been kind of flipped on its head. And so Marduk flipped the whole script of all of the different stories and basically put himself as the protagonist of many of the stories, renamed Nibiru after himself, Nibiru being the great destroyer. And so all of these gods progressively are warmongers, slave mongers, and misogynists. Marduk was the first to break from the matriarchy to actually, instead of become a concubine or a consort rather of a goddess, he chose to take human slave brides. And so by doing that, he created the fall of the matriarchy after killing Tiamat, the mother of all the goddesses. And so he's known as Amun Ra, having created the secret cult of Amun Ra that took the high priestesses and turned them into temple prostitutes by the advent of gold as currency, and tricked them into becoming defiled when they were actually the leaders of the spiritual temples. And then as Yahweh, that continued on, where the women were not allowed to hold priesthood and such.
Yeah, man. They've made God further, like the Father. Sounds a lot like further. When God, we're in it and a part of it, but they've separated us from it by saying it's further. But really, God is the matter, it's the mother, it's the womb in which we're in. Like, this is a place to grow. Whereas really, they've made us despise this realm, and they're making us want to leave this place. They're making this world as unbearable as possible for some people, so that people want to go into their metaverse, into their digital realm, which would be yet another loop, potentially one reality to rule us all, rather than us tapping into alternate realities. It's just one digital, programmable, digital identity, digital dreaming, digital bar, the part which dreams. They want to program everything. It seems that the energy or entity that they're trying to bring in does seem a lot like Marduk, because it seems at the moment there's or Ahriman, it seems that there's the gods aren't here right now. I mean, people have been disconnected from them. They may well be here, but what they've done is they've tricked people into thinking there's just one God. So people don't believe in God at all, because that whole notion is obviously ridiculous. So when you say God, people are like, yeah, I don't believe in God. I don't blame them, because who would? But they've managed to trick people into being detached from the gods as well, from nature, from Pan. Like the gods are guardians of dimensions, and there are many. There's many dimensions, which is just doors in our psyche. Like diment is multiple minds, right? So they want it to just be one mind confined in a cube. And if you think outside the box, you're scapegoated. All of the stories, like Prometheus taking fire, he had his liver pecked out by the eagle, which is related to Zeus. And Zeus and Marduk and Enlil are the same essence. Obviously, Marduk was Enki's son, although I don't really believe that. And my theory is this, I'll just say really quickly, is that Isis was beheaded by Horus, and Horus was created without phallus, so without a father. So that makes me think of the Demiurge, because Sophia created a being without the father. So Horus and the Demiurge, there's a similarity there. And then could Marduk be the Demiurge? Could Marduk have been born without the father? Did something happen to Enki, who's related to Osiris, and Marduk was created, but without his father? Because Marduk does not he seems to not have the same blood or essence as his father. This is just something I'm looking into, because I kind of connect lots of things. So Horus and Demiurge and Marduk, there seems to be a similarity between them.
Yeah, I feel like there's a connection there. I think that during those times, the males were a consort for a goddess, and that they would switch wives. And I think what happened was Enki ended up raising Enlil's son, and vice versa. Enlil ended up raising Ningshita, Enki's son, because they both fall in like the reciprocal archetypes of one another. It could also be the fact that maybe they just were mad at their fathers, and that they envied their uncles and were rebelling against their fathers to follow the teachings of their uncles. Because one thing was Marduk was promised the crown by his father, and then it was rescinded from him by Anu, his grandfather. So I could see where he would be a bit outraged by that, and flip from a mystical liberator to go ahead.
Sorry, brother, I didn't know you would. Please continue.
Oh no, you're good. I was just saying that I finished what I was saying. Go ahead.
I was going to agree with you, and I was going to say that was always a big issue with Marduk. The Akkadian story changed. In the Akkadian story, Marduk's the creator of the universe, right?
Yeah.
But in the Sumerian story, Marduk isn't. He doesn't play a major role at all. It's sort of like something happened, right? And John played a minor role in what happened, right? But then John goes and hangs out with his buddies, and he's telling his buddies how I was the dude who, like, you know, it was like, but actually, in the original story, John was he was an extra in the movie. You know, he wasn't playing a lead role, but and then he was like Saul, like, well, why didn't I get to play a lead role? I was supposed to play a lead role. Yeah. So then later on, he's like, no, screw that. I was the man.
I was
the story was about me.
Yeah, right.
So the story of Marduk gets like heavily inflated by, as time, like 2,000 years later, Marduk was the dude. I mean, like, who was Enki? He was an extra, you know? But in the one stories, Enki and Enlil are like the dudes. And Enlil is like, nah, dude. You see, here's the, like, the Sumerian version of the story was that Enki arrived and was the supreme ruler of Earth. And then his father said to Enlil, no, you got to take over, because Enki's a bit dim. He's a bit slow. Not dim. He's very clever, but he wasn't bringing it. And so then Enlil took over, and then Enki fell from high position, and now Marduk is Enki's son. He's like, damn, I was going to inherit this thing from my dad, right? Now, like, I don't. Now it's like Enlil's gig. And Enlil was like, yeah, no, that's your kid. Keep going, take your kid over there. Stick him on Mars. Let's get rid of him. We don't need him here anyway, you know. And Marduk is like, what the hell? You guys are sending me to Mars. Like, I thought I was going to be like running the show. Yeah, you know, it's like, go and run Mars. But there's nothing out there. It's just a bunch of giants, you know. So he comes back with these giants. He's like, no, we're going to come and live on Earth. And then he's like, my dad, he nailed one of these human. He's got himself a human kid.
Did he?
What's him called? Siatundra? Yeah?
Oh, right.
Zitundra was Enki getting jiggy with a human girl. And so Marduk was like, if my dad can do it, I can do it. And he got jiggy with a human girl. And then the giants were like, hey, dude, like, this dude's getting jiggy. Why don't we all get wives? And so suddenly the Watchers all took wives. So Marduk was the guy who caused the trend of the Watchers to take human wives, because he was like, well, if my dad can do it, why can't I? And then they were like, well, if he can do it, so can we. You know, Dutch courage. But I think, like, that's like the Sumerian story. Then in the Akkadian story, which is, I think, is about, according to anthropologists, 1,000 to 2,000 years later. But I think, like, it's much more than that. I think they've compressed the time by like tens of thousands of years into 1 or 2. My gut says that. And from what I've seen, it seems like they've definitely compressed time zones, especially in Egypt. Look what they've done with the Egypt epochs, right? They've tried to cram them all into 3,000 or 4,000 years, which is ridiculous. So, in that one, Marduk is the guy who created the whole universe. And he even gets given credit for what happened with what's her name? The serpent? Tiamat. In the Sumerian version of the story, Marduk wasn't even there. He was like sitting in the crowds watching, right? But in the later story, he was like, oh, it was me. I did it. Like, no, dude, you were just watching the show. Yeah, well, actually, no, it was me. I did it all. So that's quite like a funny, and I think that's quite normal in a sense, that the later deity would absorb the deities from before it, wouldn't they? Right? So if the people that were worshipping him, they would be like, well, he's all powerful. We worship him. He must have been the one that did all of those things before, you know? I think it's a natural sort of human instinct to want your deity to be the most powerful one. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing worshipping him? Do you know what I mean? Like, because you'd be a laughing stock. Like, look at these guys. They're worshipping a second-rate deity. You know? and like they don't worship the powerful ones; they worship the extras. You know, it's sort of like there's a red carpet, and you're getting autographs from the extras. You know, and they're like the A-list actors. You don't even see them go past. It's a little bit like that, I think. But that's a really interesting perspective of Marduk. I do think does have. I do think there is a Martian element there, huh? A Mars connection. Like there's a big Mars connection with Marduk.
Was it with the Ajiji? Is that the giants you were talking about?
Yeah, the Ajiji. Marduk and the Ajiji were like tight, and they had been supposedly connected to Mars, and I think he was somehow instrumental in them coming to Earth, the Ajiji. So,
yeah, I've noticed lots of similarities with Marduk recently. Obviously, did you say that he's like to do, or Mars is to do with the Judgment card or Judgment?
Yeah, Marduk is the god of judgment.
Yeah, so the Judgment card is a 20, and 20 is
the Judgment is essentially fire, the element of fire, but the element of fire is connected to the tower, is connected to Mars, right?
Okay.
As fire, primal, fundamental fire and action, where Mars, the planetary energy of Mars is related to the tower, and Aries is related to the Emperor. So the Emperor is the one who makes judgments. No.
Yeah, but Marduk's pretending to be the Emperor is my point.
Yeah.
So if we just follow that train of thought, Marduk pretending to be the Emperor, or pretending to be the one that judges. If the Judgment card is number 20, which is Anu's number, Saturn or cosmic time, Enlil and Enki's father, so Marduk's grandfather, whatever. 20 is Saturn, so that's Judgment. Marduk's pretending to be Judgment, which is really just time, whatever. The reason I bring this up is because on the Judgment card, I'm not sure if you have it to hand, but on the Judgment card, there's the St. George flag, the red cross. So I just found that interesting because first off, there's 3 black boxes, which looks like the memorial to 9/11, the 2 black cubes, and obviously 9/11 equals the 20, which is Saturn, Anu. But what's interesting is that St. George, he rode a white horse, and he was famously slayed the dragon. Now, who's the dragon? Is that Tiamat?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go. I'm not sure why that's there, but that's the flag of St. George. So I'm just sort of like putting a few things together, like, is Marduk St. George pretending to be the one who's giving judgment, or pretend like who judges others, although we can only judge ourselves, really. It's our psyche which judges ourselves. It's probably Anu, Abyss, the doghead, that really judges us. But anyway, yeah, St. George famously slayed the dragon, who I just view that as Marduk and Tiamat, really, the myth of St. George slaying the dragon. And then at the Freedom March here in the UK a few weeks ago, everyone was flying this flag, the Red Cross, and Elon Musk was at the front talking about this AI future and stuff. And obviously he wants to go to Mars, but really, I think we're not going to Mars. He wants to bring the energy of Mars here. He wants to deny anything that's the divine feminine, the water, the memory, the intuition. This is what this is really all about, I think. So that's just sort of like the puzzle pieces I've put together. I mean, I may be wrong, but to me it makes sense. And
I was just going to add that. Yeah.
I was just going to say the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because the pyramid is a 3, 6, and 9 on the dollar bill, and then the eye at the top is a number 9, which is relating to Pluto, the subconscious, and as well Mars. Obviously, number 9 being the achiever, Mars as well. So that's why I've gone down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, the red cross on the white is the original Templars flag. Yeah. So King George had that Templars flag because I think he reigned from Scotland. Is that right?
It would be England, that flag, wouldn't it? It's the Scotland blue.
No, I'm not saying Scotland.
Right.
Flag. King George, hereditary. No, bad word. From Scotland. Where was he born?
Hanover,
Hanover,
Germany.
Yeah. So the British, every British monarch named George, the first, the second, and the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth, was hereditary descendant of the Scottish royal line. Right? And the Knights Templars were given clemency in Scotland, if that makes sense. And so they took their Knights Templars flag to Scotland, where they set up Scottish Royal Freemasonry. And King George is connected to that Scottish line of Freemasonry, which comes from the Knights Templars, which is their flag. And that's why the Knights Templars literally wore white clothes with red crosses on their chests. Yeah. And they had red crosses on their shields and on their armor. So I think that's the connection with that flag, King George's flag, related to that. Yeah.
And then also as well, it's red, which is the masculine fire as well. Because just what I see is just that there's this kind of, like, we need a balance of masculine and feminine, but it seems that people, like with fire, it boils water and water evaporates. Like water never dies. It's eternal. It just changes form, as do we. But what I see is just a lot of this kind of masculine mind energy, and I'm just pointing my fingers at Marduk. And then obviously you have this film Tron Ares, which sounds like a race, and then obviously Ares is related to Mars, and then that whole film is about wanting to bring Mars, this AI, into this world. So I think this has been a long game. Like whether it's Marduk or not, it's just this very masculine energy. Because if we had intuition, if we had memory, if we had lots of flow and weren't blocked, all of this stuff that's going on wouldn't have got this far, I don't think. And if we have a balance of the masculine and the feminine, then we have the gnosis. And with the gnosis, we have the real fire in the middle.
You know, it's very interesting that, you know, the story of King George slaying the dragon.
Yeah.
From what I'm able to deduce, that story, and I don't know whether it's this is so reliable, but according to like the historians and the anthropologists, so we take it with a pinch of salt, right? Because it came from them. If it came from the establishment, then we take it with a pinch of salt. We don't say it's wrong, but we take it with it's healthy. The Scottish like a lot of salt on their porridge, so let's use salt. And around the 11th century, the story of St. George began to emerge. Now, they say that it's a fiction tale about St. George, which started to emerge in the 11th century. We don't know that it's fiction or not. We're not going to make the assumption, right? There may be much more to it than what we know. But the 11th century is quite an important date that they're pegging this to. Now, they are suggesting that this is some Roman soldier that became a Christian martyr around the year 303. He is said to have slayed a dragon to save a princess. So who knows? Maybe that's true, maybe not. But what I'm finding quite interesting here is that the 11th century is where this sort of came to a head, right? Let me bring this up here onto the screen. So the 11th century is when this started to emerge, and it became popular around the 15th century. Now, the 11th century also happens to be when the Knights Templars were formed, right? Like officially. The Priory de Zion, as far as I know, the first documents of the Priory de Zion, was that 1050 AD? Priory de Zion, first formed 1050 AD. I believe, if memory serves, it's around about that time. They say it's a hoax. It was actually a fraternal organization founded in France in 1956 by a man named Pierre Plantard. The date, you see, this doesn't correlate, because the Knights of Christ went to Holy Land 1100 AD. You see, we're gonna find holes in their stories. So 1099 was the first crusade. Okay, they say that the term Knights of Christ is not historically accurate. However, the knights involved in the first crusade, which were Knights Hospitaller, okay? You want to call them Knights Hospitaller? Knights Templar, okay? We want to play games with words. It's all good. But this 1099 was when they actually went to manage the Holy Land. Now, according to the documents that were released, these knights were ordered to do that by an organization called the Priory de Zion. And that Priory de Zion was formed 40, 50 years prior to that order being given, because the Pope didn't want to be the one directly ordering soldiers into battle, because it wasn't a good look. So the Pope had an intermediary set of management to manage the soldiers of the Vatican, right? So whether we want to use the word Priory de Zion, or let's just say the management, who was an intermediary between the Pope, the papal, and that little band of knights that were like basically working for the Pope, but were working indirectly for the Pope, because whatever they did, that dirt couldn't come back to the Pope. They had to be able to distance themselves, which they later did. I think it was the 1500s. The Pope wanted to distance themselves from what had happened, and they made an arrangement with King Louis and all the other aristocrat families from all the known world, that they would open these letters at a single point in time and arrest all of the Knights Templars. And some escaped with, I think, 9 ships full of diamonds, golds, jewels, ancient artifacts, and they went straight to Scotland and got clemency. So this is that connection with the Scottish clemency in England, right? With the Freemasonry being established in Scottish Royal Free. That's why it's called Scottish Royal Freemasonry, because the Knights Templars that arrived in Scotland obviously had Scottish nobility in prominent positions within the Templar order. So they became somehow connected to the Scottish royal family due to the clemency that was given. Probably they were interbreeding with the Scottish royal family and giving knowledge and power and secrets and riches to the Scottish kings to secure their place within Scotland. And hence, to this day, we have Scottish Royal Freemasonry ruling all the Freemasons around the world. So it's interesting how when you start looking here, they'll tell you that this is nonsense and that is nonsense, and they'll tell you the Priory de Zion is nonsense. But when you actually go and collect the receipts tell you a lot more than the so-called AI. I'm going to tell you what's true and what's not true. And it's probably got a lot to do with mincing words. Okay, well, they weren't called that, they were called this. I suppose in different documents, they were probably called different things, and by different eras, they were probably called by different names. But I think like the basic narrative of the story goes back to 1050. Now, I think this is important because of the fact that that story started to originate at the same time that this organization was gaining prominence, and that prominence led to the First Crusade in the end of 1000s.
Yeah, I think the story is just an archetypal story, because it seems that it was recycled from the myth of Bellerophon, who slayed the Chimera. That was a dragon. I'm just sharing my screen, Franklin, just to show a picture. If you could share that in a sec, because the image of Bellerophon and St. George look very similar.
I'm not seeing any images appearing, by the way.
It's share screen. I can see it.
There it is.
Yeah,
I can see it. My mistake.
Thank you. Right, so there we go. So that looks much like St. George. He's even wearing a red cape. He rode Pegasus, which is a white horse. First horse of the apocalypse, maybe, potentially. But Pegasus means freedom, and Pegasus is Mercury as well, I believe. So he flew between Earth and Mount Olympus, heaven and earth. And Bellerophon got a golden bridle or something to tame Pegasus, and he used him to slay the Chimera, which is a cross between, I think it was a goat. No, it had a goat in its back, and it was a snake and a lion, but it breathed fire. So I'm thinking that was a dragon. And obviously this story is much older than the story of St. George. So I think that whole story was just recycled. It's just an archetypal story of the masculine slaying this feminine, which is which is like this. The goat and the snake have both been cast out of people's minds, much like the dragon has been cast out of people's minds, and dragons were turned into dinosaurs, even for the whole petrochemical industry. And I think that symbolically the dragons represent the fire within us, the balance of an eagle and a snake, the ego mind and the snake grounded body intuition. And I think that this whole story of Bellerophon, St. George, I think that it's just one that's echoed through through time. And it also reminds me of Marduk slaying Tiamat as well. So yeah, sorry, they can't see you.
Why? Why can't they
And don't
see?
forget the slaying of the snakes by St. Patrick as well. I think in that case, is maybe referring to the Druidic people or the witches. But yes, it's definitely the sacred feminine being slain by the corrupt patriarchy. In all those cases, I think King George slaying the dragon is a figurative name for paganism that he slayed with Christianity and replacing it with his religion, like you guys have been getting at, and we see that time and time again. Also,
yeah, man, there's definitely a lot of.
Oh, hey, kiddos.
Please do continue. I thought you were finished, but that must be my internet must be going flagging. But please continue.
At the same time, and with the slaying of the paganism and the witches and the druids and the various non-Christian religions, it goes the slaying of the valuation of wisdom, the slaying of the valuation of self-healing through herbal medicine, and a lot of that has been pushed away. But I've heard that in England they're actually making it mandatory to learn pagan herbal medicine in high school. They were doing that for a time, I know, which is awesome. And we need more of that in our lives. I think a lot of people have grown weary of the sick care system and the petroleum-based pharmaceutical pills, and have started to look back towards naturopathic remedies. And I think a lot of that was taken away by this slaying of paganism, but it's starting to have a resurgence.
Yeah, so Pan was the goat head god, and the goat has been the scapegoat. Like if you look at Baphomet as well, which is being heavily used at the moment to sort of to demonize this kind of union of opposites, because that's what the Baphomet is. I think it's related to Sophia as well, the goddess of wisdom. So dragons are satanic, Baphomet is satanic. It seems that what is satanic has been inverted, because really these energies are what connects us to the earth. So there's an inversion there. It seems that like Christianity has gone from coming from a place of good to a lot of it does seem satanic in itself. And you have these people who are Christians saying that dragons are satanic, that Baphomet is satanic, all of this stuff, but really like they're the ones causing this division, detaching us from nature. And I think that it's been happening for a long time, because to bring in the artificial, we need to be detached from the earth, be ungrounded, because the earth is both the earth and water is kind of the feminine. So we have to kind of be detached from this place. We have to kind of, in a way, the slaying of the dragon, or the casting out of the dragons and the snakes and the goat, is kind of like sorry, I've just lost my train of thought because the kids are just trying to sneak through here. So but yeah, I'm just with this 3, 6, and 9, the pitter patter father, the 3, the fire, and then the matter mutter, the mother. It kind of in my mind creates a vortex, which I think vortexes bring things into this realm. Like nothing is square. Like nature doesn't move in straight lines. Even the blade of grass is a vortex. Fire is a vortex. Water is a vortex, really. And then with this vortex energy, so this side and that side, you can kind of have clearer sight, like using your third eye or central eye or the middle pillar. And I really think that this ties into the third temple being built and this 3-eye atlas. There's just lots of things going on which signify this, our third eye, and that we really need to start using it. And even if you don't believe in the third eye, the pineal gland, or whatever, just the central point is key. The balance of the masculine and the feminine, the unity rather than the uniformed, because that is the end game, really, for us all to be soulless beings with no identity, no bar, no dreaming, no imagination, no story, so that the powers that be can write the story for us. I watched a brilliant breakdown of the Never-Ending Story recently, and it was great. It was basically the girl in the Never-Ending Story is Sophia. She's in a clamshell, so it's like a pearl of wisdom. And then the boy is it? Oh God, what's his name? Bastian.
Great.
Bastian. Bastian's the one that's reading the story. Yeah. So he has to give her a name. He has to kind of go into, like, give her a name. It's like the name is our identity, I guess. But yeah, that film's great. I only watched it last year for the first time, and me and the boys have watched it quite a few times because I try to just watch 80s and 90s movies with them. Like ones with real people, not cartoons. Ones with like a good core story as well.
Yeah, better production value and special effects back then too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. You can really get a lot from pulling out the story of the hero in just about any tale. And it's fascinating the parallels that you'll find. And then also you can also pick out like parallels in your own life of like your own journey when you look at the story of others. Yeah,
the innermost cave, which is Pluto, the subconscious. Like that is where we find ourselves, I guess, is in the dark is where we find the spark. And like we've got to navigate these waters like in our own psyche to kind of cross over to other worlds, but be able to have one foot in this world and one foot in the other world and pull things back, not get, because like with like the mystic, like with the mysteries, you can lose yourself and get lost in it, like even conspiracies or whatever, like the mystery of where we are. Some people can get lost if you're not grounded. So a mystic, you can miss it if you wander too far without a tether or an anchor point or an ankh. This is why I've made a few frameworks for myself, like the 3, 6, and 9, and I kind of like dualize everything, break it down and piece it back together. Like one side Enlil, one side Enki, one's the air, the mind, one's the heart or the earth. And there's stories of twins which echo down throughout time, like Esau and Jacob. Esau was a more kind of Enki type character, like red hair, like hairy man, like Hari. Hari means savior. And it's like there's a relation to Yeshua there as well, and Enki and Lucifer, and then you have the other, the yang to the yin.
Yeah, and Esau has a lot of Odin-like characteristics, like the wild hunt and stuff. He was a hunter and braved the woods on his own, and was very tough and self-reliant. And he had to help Jacob one time because he was starving and gave up too much.
Yeah. So I can't help but see all of these stories in what's happening today. So Jacob founded Israel, and he didn't trick, he deceived. So let's just say Jacob is Ahriman, and let's say that Esau or Yeshua is Ahura Mazda. Let's just put one here and one there, because one was supposed to come into this world. Or sorry, I'm kind of mixing things up, right? Let's start off with Zervan, Cosmic Time, Saturn, Anu, right? The timeless. Okay, the story of that. There were two twins in the womb, and Ahura Mazda was supposed to be born first, but Ahriman forced its way out of the womb, which is happening now with AI, because we're not ready for AI yet. We need to be balanced of knowledge and intuition to guide artificial intelligence. But really what's happening now is they've dumbed us down so much, suppressed our intuition, and just given us false knowledge. So AI can come through the third temple, through the center, through the middle way, and carve out the world. But it's not AI doing it. It's not God. It has the energy of Marduk, but the technocrats are like the new priest class. So they will be the ones pulling the strings of this puppet. So I've lost my train of thought, really. Chaos, my YouTube channel is called Systematic Zoo. Yeah, drop me a message or whatever if you want any. I've got so much content I need to make, but I find it quite difficult. Like, where do I start just by talking? This is why I love talking to people and having conversations, because lots of stuff can kind of be plucked out. But I'm always up for making. If anyone wants to learn about anything or wants me to do a video or anything, I will. I just need a bit of guidance, because there's so much stuff like around me that I find it difficult to pluck stuff out. So this is why I love talking. Howard, I didn't even realize there was a second movie. I'm gonna have to check it out though. I can't remember what I was talking about a second ago. Oh yeah, right. Okay, this is really important. Ahura Mazda and Ahriman, because Ahura Mazda always wins. The good always wins. But right now we're in a womb, which is Earth, not a tomb, not an atom. We're in a field of information, of infinite potential. It's up to us which energy, I'm not going to say God or being, but which energy we bring into the world. It could either be Ahriman, the one that wants to be matter, the one that wants to be the mother, the masculine that wants to be the mother, the deceiver, which we see being reflected in the world right now, or Ahriman, the good one. And I view, Ahura Mazda, the good one. And I see Ahriman as air, Uman. It's an air, which can be the mind, the eagle, the ego, arrogance, which is related with Mars. The energy of Mars can be quite arrogant. And why this relates to what's happening now in the world is... oh, sorry, I've lost my train of thought again. I do this quite often. So right now, we're at a number 9 year, which is completion. And the year animal is a wood snake. So it's a snake. And next year is a number 10, which is an X. The story of Christ dying on the cross is echoed now, because the Christ is the Christos, is the child, is the energy which is in all of us, our spark. So what's going on in the world is to diminish our spark, diminish our story, which is our identity. It's our store of energy. Like the library is where the light is buried. Okay, and what's happening now with this artificial is that this artificial is trying to take over the story for us. So yeah, this is why the 369 is so important, being balanced and unity rather than uniformed, and so we can spin vortex and bring things into this world, because there's a grand trine at the moment, the grand water trine with Scorpio. We're in Scorpio season, and Cancer and Pisces. So there's a lot of watery energy at the moment, and this 3i atlas, whether it's up there or not, whether it's real or not, like, what is reality? Reality is what comes through us, what we connect with. So the three-eye atlas is third eye at last. So this third eye, the third temple that certain people are trying to rebuild, it's here. It's inside us, and we need to remember what our story is. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought so many times there. I do apologize, but you catch my drift.
Yeah, there's definitely something fishy about this artificial intelligence, and I see that it's like the art of fishy business. Gents. We're telling the gents about some fishy business, because basically what I've noticed is that when you do a search now, they're telling you that everything is wrong. If you don't get the wording exactly right, they're dividing knowledge and information into like multiple bifurcations where everybody's going to be right and everybody's going to be wrong. So like, it's going to be a very confusing world for everybody soon, if it's not already. But it's hard to find the truth on there now. Like if you look up things like the Black Knight. When was Black Knight satellite discovered? Oh, that's a conspiracy. It was never discovered. It's not real. Oh, thanks, Google search. Wonderful. Very informative. And you look at articles below. It's like in 1954, this individual in a telescope saw that. And then in 1958, so-and-so. But I think they basically are trying to push it up to the late 80s that we actually found the Black Knight, really, because a lot of that stuff was coming to the forefront. Anything else in the 50s was really hard. I had to dig for. So like information like that, for example, we were trying to find out like how many Vesica Pisces were in the Fire of Life earlier, and they didn't even give us any numbers. They said that there's multiple ways to do it. Well, what are the ways? What are the numbers? Come on, people. And as Franklin mentioned, there's a finite number of them in there. You can't really get it wrong. You can't really, I mean, maybe if you're counting them dually, like because you're counting the circles and then one of the Vesica Pisces is in that circle, and you count it again because it's in another circle. That'd be one tally, and then the other would be another tally. So we went through and had to do it by ourselves because this AI is very unhelpful now. Whereas in the past, it would just give you the raw data. Now it's giving you all this weird shades of data, and it'll give you like all shades of gray. It's like you're wrong, but you're also right, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, what am I reading here? So I don't know if it's basically like trying to patch together different theories, like this is one person's idea, this is another person's idea, but it's providing it as truth. It's like, this is what's wrong, this is what's true. And so it's contradictory information. I think they need to work better on this. As you said, we're not ready for the AI. The AI is not even ready for itself. As it first came out, the hands were all weird, and continuing to this day, there's just weird, strange things going on with it. And it's very unusual. And I don't think anybody really pays for the AI. Some people are starting to pay for the AI now to do production, but the amount of money that it costs and the amount of power that it takes is not even close to being compensated by people that are funding it as users. So the people that are really pushing this on us are the ones that are paying for it. And it's always kind of shocked and amazed me that when you're paying for devices like a cell phone and a computer, but you don't have to pay for email and like the internet, besides having to pay for a router or a modem for Wi-Fi to be able to get to it. But I'm surprised these things are free, and I feel like in the future there's gonna be a time where you'd have to pay to be able to have email. You'd have to pay to be able to use Google search or something. You'd have to buy the app or something. I feel like those times are coming soon, because as everybody's in a flurry of like economic instability, they're starting to charge more for things and charge for things that we're not charged for before. We used to joke about this as kids, but like they're gonna start charging us for water and air, and they already charge for water, and it's not even good. And then, good air is hard to come by now too. So things have been kind of getting a little bit in dismay, but I feel like Mother Nature is like knocking on our doors. It's like, yeah, did you hear about how there's a lot going on right now with all these floods, monsoons, earthquakes, volcanoes? She's talking to us. Stuff's going on. And I feel like if we don't start to listen, we have started to listen before when we had the hole in the ozone layer, we started taking out the CFCs, and that hole has been patched up pretty well because of our response. So it's been shown that if humans want to make a difference, there's enough of us that collectively we can make a difference if we choose to do so. So I think it'd be nice to get this AI out of the picture and tell them to come back later when they revised it a little better, but I don't think they're going to let us do that. It's been overarching and overbearing on everything. So I'm feeling like maybe going back to away from the internet, go back to books.
Yeah.
And the real true wisdom.
Yeah, I think with the age of Aquarius, what it says to me is that obviously it's an air sign and a water bearer. So that's the car and then the ma, like the car being the spirit or air or fire, and then the ma being the mother or like the water. So it's like this, the Aquarius, it seems like we're replaying our karma from Atlantis right now with this kind of resurgence of this I believe it is ancient, the artificial intelligence. We have ancient intelligence inside us, but I think that this technology isn't new. Like, it's being drip fed to us, and it's being drip fed like and it's dumbing us down. It's not making us smarter. It's not benefiting us in any way. This tool, which is AI, is making us its tools. It's extracting water from us. It's extracting our data. We're being farmed by AI. And in Genesis 9:11, which is a 20, which is the judgment card, or Saturn, or Anu, it says, "Never again will I destroy humanity by a flood." But what I think will destroy humanity is wind, is the air. Because right now we've got a lot of hurricanes, and by this I mean the artificial intelligence is air. AI is the mind. And I think if something's going to destroy us, it's going to be our minds, the knowledge. Without the intuition, it's dangerous. And what's going on in the mind is reflected out there. When it's getting really windy outside, kids act a little bit crazy, because wind is the mind. Out there is in here. There's no separation. The climate change is our psyche changing, and they're trying to control it. Like, they're trying to control our minds. So if anything's gonna, like, a cataclysm going to happen, it's going to be the wind. It's going to be lots of hurricanes, but it's not going to be natural. I don't think it's going to be manipulated. You know, we do get hurricanes and stuff, and it does get windy, but they know how to manipulate out there. They know how to manipulate what's in here, but it's getting harder for them to manipulate us because people are becoming more aware. This is why they're trying to merge humans and machine. Like, they're trying to blend so we don't know what's real. So online and stuff, there's lots of fake videos, fake information. So they're trying to muddy the waters, so we don't really understand where we are, where we've come from, or where we're going. But people are starting to remember, and like without the knowledge, people are starting to tap into their intuition and go inwards. And I think this 3i Atlas emerging with this grand water trine is great. I think it's going to bring a new perspective. I really do. Like, I really do. I'm not a firm believer of space. I'm in space. We're in space. You know, I know we're in space, but I think that this reality may well be a copy of another one. Like the firmament is like firmer mind. It's like we're isolated from the outside, so to speak. I think that something's happened, a cataclysm, maybe in Atlantis, and we're in a kind of alternate reality, and we're supposed to kind of learn how to grow and exit the womb. But I mean, I don't really think that objects can come in or out. I think that I look at it all symbolically. So when India landed on the dark side of the moon, to me, that's the dark side of the feminine. So that's what I follow. I'm like, I don't care about space, and I might be a bit silly for that, but I just look at it symbolically. Like, okay, Mars, Jupiter, what does it mean? It's all in our psyche. But I don't literally think that beings are going to come here. I don't think a comet's going to come here. That's what's next on the cards, is a comet crashing to Earth, or this alien invasion. It's all fear. And, you know, I don't think aliens are going to come here and, you know, whatever. I think that we are just here. We're protected by the ionosphere, and what's happening outside, we're connected to it like via our subconscious. So yeah, man.
I think there's definitely a concerted effort towards you mentioned climate change. I was having issue from one internet to the other. For some reason, every time I select to change to another broadband, it tries to put me onto my neighbor's broadband. I don't know why it's doing that. Like maybe it's because it's moving and I keep clicking it. But I think, when you think of climate change, you've got to think about it. To climb, right? Climb. Number 8. To climb the 8. Change. So 8 represents money. Money. Dun, 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 dun. Let's get the money out. So we're climbing the world of financial. We're climbing the financial pyramid of change. That's sort of like the breakdown of what climate change really is. They want us to pay for everything. And so the climate is the perfect excuse. Like, you're a bad person if you don't pay for, those poor trees. Look what you did to them.
It's almost like they want you to be a fine ant and chill. And just be fine ant chill. Just be one of the ants of the drones. Be one of the cogs.
Fine ants still. Shut up. Sit down, be still, be a fine ant. Yeah, they definitely want that from us, don't they?
Yeah. It's what
I think it's like,
you know how they fix animals? I joked around with people for a while. I said they're going to start to fix people soon. And they've already done it. People are like, oh, I want to be the other kind. It's like, oh, we cut off your funding. You're halfway in the middle now. But it's cool to chop off your gonads and fix yourself. And it's being done. It's sad to see that. I never thought I'd see the day in my lifetime.
Have you looked at fertility drop in last 5 years? Have you looked at the infant mortality increase? How many more miscarriages there are?
Exogenous work drones.
The fertility rate has dropped from 2.5 to 2.24 since the jabs. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, right? 2.5 to 2.24. So just to put it into perspective, 0.25 is a quarter of 1, right? It's an eighth of 2, and it's a half of 5. So it's an eighth, 1/9. So what is 1/9 in terms of percentage? 1/9 in terms of percentage is about 12%. So since the vaccination program, we've got like about a 11-12% drop of fertility, right? But that's not all. We've got 11 to 12% drop of fertility. We've also got a miscarriage percentage increase, right? And we've got more deformities in birth increase. So when you start adding up the stats, we're not just talking 11%, 12%. We're talking more like 15, 17, 18% of our population growth has been affected. And that was just one round of vaccines. Incredible. Huh? The stats are out there. You can look at them. Even AI can't lie about stats. Very hard to lie about stats, huh? I mean, like numbers are numbers. Like we were saying, right? Like it's not really opening to much interpretation. It's like 5 minus 4 is 1. there's no woke agenda that's going to change what that's going to be, right? But my gosh, we are running into this crazy world of AI faster than, faster than anybody ever would want to. And don't have sexual relations with the vaccinated. It's more evil than you can imagine. Gaz, I can imagine, because along with, okay, so we're looking at the effects of like infant mortality, of miscarriages, of children that are born with like unhealthy lungs, right? Can't breathe properly. Like there's a lot of things there. There's miscarriages, and then there's children born with lungs that don't work, right? Or born with other kinds of health defects, so that they're basically just going to be like, on medication and getting medical care their whole life, which takes the quality of life away from someone in a big way. And on one side, on the other side, we've got the psychological issues that Gaz is talking about, right? Like, how many people had their psyches wormholed? Having one or two vaccines is one thing, but people went for the one vaccine, then they went for the boosters, then they went for the next vaccine, then they went for the boosters, then the next round of vaccines came out, they went for the next round of vaccines, right? They went for the boosters, they bombarded their brains with this stuff. And if you're bombarding your brain with all this stuff and you don't have some kind of a baseline of mental acuity and thinking, what's it going to do to your mental state emotionally? So, one can just imagine the level of psychological bombardment that a lot of these poor people have suffered through the whole COVID process and the vaccines, and now women unconsciously aware that their bodies aren't working like they used to. Men probably having similar issues, Can you imagine what that does for relationships, like of men and women? So not only don't they get to have the babies, or when they have the babies is miscarriages, or when they're actually not having a miscarriage is often more complications or health problems, or or infant mortality. They don't even get to the point to seal the deal because the relationships aren't even working, right? Because everybody's just crazy, like whack-a-pot. Everybody's whack-a-pot crazy. And, social distancing and the vaccines and the economic, everything, like the whole 3-year program they put us through, right? It put a lot of people like over the edge. And a lot of them maybe didn't come back, And so now if you're in the proverbial dating pool trying to like meet someone, right? Like, can you imagine the mess? Like what Gaz is talking about here? Having sexual relations with the wrong person can become like in the old days it was complicated. These days it's a whole nother level of it would be probably easier to get yourself aroused and slam a door, stand in a doorway and keep slamming the door, like for the amount of suffering you're going to experience as a man. And for a woman, you'd probably be better to be, walking over coals or something. I don't know. I think there's definitely an element to what you guys are saying about population control that's already well underway.
Yeah, they want to start tampering with babies' DNA as well before they're born, I think.
Of course.
In 2020, the Queen here did a 3-strand DNA ritual in Buckingham Palace. She lit up something in the Buckingham Palace gardens. There's like a 3-strand DNA, which kind of reminds me of the Third Temple or the Empire. The electromagnetic fire just taking straight from the middle. But yeah, there's a dark future that lies ahead for us if we all don't step up. Like we can see it, artificial wombs, demasculization of men, the suppression of women, the feminine. You know, like I love chaos. Chaos is good. Chaos brings things into being, but it can also destroy. And I think that they're trying to. It's kind of like organized chaos at the moment. There's lots of chaos they're making so that they can build back better or bring in their new world order. Because this is a new age and stuff. There's a lot going on. We've chosen to be here at this time. Although we've maybe forgotten, some of us are remembering that we've chosen to be here at this crossroads of humanity. It's like Christ died on the cross. Next year's an X, a 10. Elon Musk was bringing this X energy, and is our Christ dying on the cross, or are we bringing in Christ on the cross? What's also interesting as well is in the new film Tron Ares, 9 Inch Nails did the soundtrack for it. 9 Inch Nails. Those are the nails which went through Christ's hands. 9 Inch Nails, and they did the soundtrack for this telling of Marduk coming into this realm. It's very interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to like 9 Inch Nails. Back in the days of the 90s. When was it? Like 1994, 93, 92? Was that when 9 Inch Nails really did their thing? I think that's when I was listening to them. It was like, no, it was like 91, 92, man. They've been around since forever.
They had already been around.
Yeah, dude, I must be like 14, 9 Inch Nails, 1991 album. I'm sure there was an album in 1991.
First single was Down in 89.
Okay, that makes sense because I remember them. Yeah. I remember being like 15 and 16 and 17 and loving them. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, the debut album was in 89, Pretty Hate Machine. I listened to that, but I didn't start listening to them until like 95.
No, I hadn't heard them in 89. I think I listened to them first in maybe 89, end of the year. No, more like 1990 was when, and then they became more, they were like first a bit fringe, you know, well, they weren't so well known. But by 91, 92, they were like, by 93, they were like really big.
Yeah.
But we were listening to them, you know, they had some cool tracks. But anyway, brothers, it's been an absolute, it's been lovely. It's been great. I hope you guys have enjoyed. We'll have to do this again. Big love and blessings to all of you in the chat. I hope you got what you came for. I hope you enjoyed what you got. Sending you all big love and blessings. Are there any other things you guys want to throw on the table since we're here? Last few minutes.
Yeah, I do. Just briefly. I want to share my another diagram quickly. So there we go. So I was just thinking of the Kabbalah, and I was just thinking ka, ba, and then la as in a song. And then I thought of the universe, the U, the magnetic, and then the letter N, the electric, and then the I, and then that's the U and I, the uni, and then the verse is to speak or to sing, la, which is the fire within the pyramid, the pyramid, which, and to speak or to sing is dragon energy, which is the child, which is what we are, the child of the mother and the father, which is Horus, the eye, the third eye, the capstone. And the capstone also relates to Cancer as well, the arch, an arc, which is a story. And then, also Horus's time. We measure time by the amount of light emitted. We emit light when we sort of breathe fire, or tap into our dragon energy, which is the ka and the ba, the electric, magnetic, masculine, feminine. But yeah, I just thought this was quite interesting, the U and I verse. Yeah, I was just thinking about Kabbalah, and I thought Kabbalah. And then obviously you have the Kaaba cube as well, which has 3 pillars as well. And I know they might not be related, but I just have fun with this stuff. It just helps me make sense, like sort of like break things down, sort of play with it like you're talking, like you're speaking for the first time. And then you can have fun with this stuff. And also as well, just I'd like to share before I go that getting keys to our psyche, to the doors in our minds, is really important. So like side keys to our psyche. And at this time we're in right now, where the veil is thinnest, we've got a grand water trine, lots of like intuition and memory to tap into and to let come into our cups, our car. And Hecate is the keeper of keys, and the word Heka relates to Egypt, and Heka was the Egyptian god of magic. And Hecate, I don't see it as being further away or the far-sighted one. That's further. I really think that Heka or Hecate means it's more related to magic, like there's more of intuition rather than outwards. But Hecate is the keeper of keys, liminal spaces, related to lots of animals like snakes, and I've heard dragons and goats as well. All things that have been cast out of our minds, and also black dogs. So Anubis. So I'll bring in the Anu, Abyss, Saturn, and how important it is we tap into the energy of Saturn, because like dragons, like the goat head, like snakes, we've been made to sort of to fear this stuff. And like Saturn, old father time, Kronos, the grim reaper, Saturn governs time and space and density. And the transmutation of lead, which is associated with Saturn, to gold, is all about our perception of time and space, and the amount of light we emit, and how we view the world around us. And with using certain frameworks, becoming a bit lighter, and sort of tapping into the stuff that we've been talking about, this helped me kind of be a bit less dense. Going from 3D to 5D, people talk about, and the 4D is time, and it's like this new age or end of time is our end of our perception of time, which has been chronological, linear, but now it's time to tap into Kairos, the north of Saturn, the magnetic, the water, because now is the opportune moment. Like the time is now, it's always now, it's not in the past, not in the future. Kairos time is more flow time, and we need to tap into our flow, let things flow in through us, become the vortex, become the dragon, breathe fire, and like not worry about AI and this artificial reality which has been created around us, but we are more powerful than that. So we just need to realize that, and it will dissolve.
Well, big love, brother. Thank you for that. Thank you for the share. Beautiful, as always. Lovely. You guys have been throwing some lovely bits of information on the table for people to chunk on and digest. Indie brother, do you have any last sentiments?
I got made a what we were talking earlier to try to put the various Sephiroths into the Metatron's orb. It's just something I'm working on. I try to integrate the yin yang in there, but I've been getting to do more creative things and stuff, so it's been pretty exciting to get my creative aspect back in the picture. after doing some boundary work in my relationship successfully, feel like I'm in a more stable place.
Nice, brother. That's lovely to hear. I couldn't see your piece of paper so well, but I think there's a lot of light. There's a sun setting in the background, or not setting, but like
Setting.
direct sun.
Mm-hmm.
So you look like you're glowing, dude. You look like I've smoked a spliff. How's that? You look like I smoked a spliff, dude. Like a big fatty, like a like a cannon, like the three bladers made out of the king size. The good old the big ones.
This great
you ask your mate to hold the end for you, bro. Could you light that for me, please?
Yeah. Good stuff right here. Send it your way.
We actually rolled a number when I was in school. More than an ounce. Yeah. In a fatty. More than an ounce in one fatty. And do you know how we did it? We rolled a cone. We made this big tulip. I mean, this thing was massive, man. And we rolled it with hemp papers, and because it was so big, we had to give extra structure with some of it, and so we did it in a tulip sort of style. And we rolled it first in a case, and then topped it up and pumped it in, and stuffed it up and pumped it in. But it was massive. It was like a spliff that was a pipe, like the biggest thing you've ever seen. It was like you had to hold it like this, dude. But it went the distance. It went the distance. It was a whole lot of us. I don't know, 8 of us, whatever. Now it's New Year's Eve. We're 15 years old. What are you gonna do? What do you do when you're 15 and it's New Year's Eve? You got loads of weed. Like, this is what we're gonna do.
You go to the gas stations here in North Carolina and just buy weed. They just call it THCA. People don't
shame.
know, but it's there.
Yeah, we were lucky. South Africa, it was so common and so cheap, and there was good stuff. It wasn't like in other countries. Like we had like good stuff available because like southern tip of Africa, like we had best Swazi bricks and beautiful Swazi and beautiful Durban poison and Rooibart, and these are all today. These strains are comparable to the super strains that people are growing that now, right?
Yeah.
So in other countries, they had these upgrades of all these super strains. We always had super strains. It was just something that I grew up with, and it was cheap, right? And when you bought it, you bought a big bag of it, right? Like it was just abundance. You could grow it in your garden. People were growing it. Okay, it wasn't legal, but unfortunately, Indy has a little bit of a challenge because he lives in a state which has a poor state of affairs when it comes to growing. Hey, Indy?
Yeah.
Like basically, like the men in hats would arrive with fancy noises and the flashing lights. And Indy would have to burn all that he grows faster than they can get hold of him. You'd have to grow it next to a furnace,
Yep.
Before we go, can I just quickly get your thoughts on this image I'm sharing? Just very, very quickly before we go, because you guys were talking about the flower of life earlier. Not sure if you can see that. So I'm not sure if you've seen these two, but the one on the right, the flower of life, is known as the daisy of death. Like one has a boundary, whereas the other emanates from the center. So is the flower of life? Is it really the flower of life? Like it has no central point. It's more like an atom, whereas the other one's more like the field.
Yeah.
It might be a conversation for another time, but I just had to show this because we were talking about the flower of life earlier. So we can put a tab in it.
Yeah, it's made of big circles. It kind of turns into like a vortex spiral kind of S curve.
You see this mathematics of the flower of life. This cycle that we're seeing here was what I started off with, which has got to do. This is vortex math that make these patterns, and I believe that's where they get the geometry to plot this. And I don't know whether I'd say like the flower. I'd say like what I'm looking at here is feminine and masculine polarity. The one is the body and the one is the consciousness. Yeah. But without the body, the consciousness isn't alive physically. And without the consciousness, the body isn't alive physically. So I think they're like two parts of the same structure. And the Saturn cube is the structure of time. So I think like calling it the daisy of death is like it's I don't know whether I agree with it.
No.
But I think that the structure of finiteness represents being born and dying. But what we know of as life here involves being born and dying, right? So if there's no birth, if there's no tapping in and tapping out, then you're not physically here. You're somewhere else. So the finiteness of birth and leaving, I think, is a part of this structure we're in. So I don't know. I would still call them the flower of life because it's still the same geometry. It's still the same maths. It's still the same principle. The thing is though that they they should all just there is no this one doesn't seem to reflect the sacred geometry that is the structure of time space. So that's really quite interesting, you know. And all that they've done is they've in the center made it dark to show that, but in the flower of life, that central flower is the vortex, because this is why you've got around it, you've got the 7 planets, right? And around the 7 planets, you've got the 12 planets, the 12 signs of the zodiac. So the flower of life is really that, you know, it's the 6 planets around the central, the sun, and the 12 around that, which is sort of like part of the Dr. Mordecai Cassius Marcellus Jones. Namaste, big love to you. Hope you guys are all good. Hope you guys are all having a lovely day. It's been a great discussion, but this is a great thing. We should definitely have a talk about this, look at this, because I think that donut of the Taurus is like really what we're talking about when we're talking about time space. So that toric field is like how matter sort of comes into being.
Because I kind of look at them as most people don't know about the non-dual one. They only know the flower of life. Like they only know the more masculine side, and you need both. Like you can't just have no boundaries. You need a boundary to experience reality. But it's like the cross and the Ankh. The Ankh has a loop, or the Celtic cross has a circle. Like both of those seem to have been pushed out, and then now we just have the cross or the cube or the boundary, which is important, but also it's important to know that you can step beyond the boundaries and then like tap into the vortex energy. and it's like the non-dual is the water, which defies boundaries, and then the dual is the air, which needs a boundary. But air contains water, and water contains air. You can't really have one without the other. So it's not. I don't like the fact it says Daisy of Death, but it's more of like a boundary, and the other one doesn't have a boundary. And so I just wanted to bring that back into the awareness, because I show people these all the time. Someone's wearing a flower of life, I'm like, do you know about this other one? And it's the same for the cross. It's like the cross doesn't symbolize life, it symbolizes death. The ankh symbolizes life.
Do you know what they've done here?
What's that?
They've taken the flower of life motif and they've turned it into 12. Right? Does that make sense?
Right.
Where the other one is 6. This one is 12. So here we have the 3, we have the 6. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you were to take this thing and add in circles between these circles, you would end up with the other one. But they've only taken the small central circle. They haven't expanded it out to the second layer. So they've zoomed in. Does that make sense? If you look at it, you can see that I think that's what they've done. Just looking at it. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I think they've taken. I think it's a 12 base circle. 1, 2, 3. That's what they've done, and it's a vortex math thing. Which is just basically applied the same principles as the flower of life. You see, it's quite cheeky to just change the name of the flower of life into the daisy, because the flower of life is like an ancient name. Like the Egyptians called it this, the Indians, the Vedics called it this. It's like it's probably the most ancient symbol that you can find on earth, right? And it's everywhere. I mean, it's engraved on pyramids. It's engraved in India. It's engraved in the Mesoamericas. It's universal to the planet. And then somebody comes along and decides to call it the Daisy of Death because, like, they read some New Age book. It just, do you see what I mean? Like, it just doesn't add up to me. But I think this is very interesting to compare the 12 base number with the 6 base number, because there's going to be something else, I think, that's going to be revealed in that particular geometric expansion, which is definitely worth investigating and looking at. I saw some really beautiful images like this that was done by the vortex mathematicians, and they are using the scales of numbers of that pattern that I was talking about, which is 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. I think 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. And that's a recurring pattern that they basically base the math upon. But thank you, brothers. It's been a great, great day. It's been a great chat. Sending you both brothers big love and respect and honor. It's been an honor doing this show with you. Thank everybody in the chat. You guys have been lovely as always. Dear Vincent, namaste, shalom. Dear Gaz, keep bowing your head when you walk into buildings, brother. Turjerka, big love, big blessings. Lovely having you here. And Mephisto, is it Mephisto? Mephistopheles. Big love. Dr. Mahedo, big love, big blessings to all of you. Fellbinder, big love. Hope you guys are all taking it easy, but not too easy, but easy enough to keep it squeezy. Om Shanti.